wait, did you have final words or is that it?
No, I think that's it. I feel like I had lots of words.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think this next one will be as long.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the first European Le Mans Series race of the year,
Yes.
which was obviously this weekend. It happened at the Barcelona Catalunya circuit, a really, really fun racetrack that is currently, I think, on rotation with the Spa circuit for F1. And so it's awesome to see that it still gets a lot of, love and attention, of
Yes.
course, through the ELMS.
I did ask you also, because you've driven on the track.
Yeah, fantastic track.
Yeah.
Awesome track.
Yeah.
That's why I think a lot of people are just like frustrated. Why would you have two legendary tracks on rotation?
Yeah,
And
fair.
then have, that's the whole thing.
What
Let's
do
not
you
get
mind
mad.
me asking? What is it that you love about this track? What's so
I
fun
think it's
about it?
it's the layout itself.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a track. Which makes a huge difference. But it's just like the layout itself, you know, the way you go down the start finish line, right? You immediately have a chicane that kind of goes uphill around the right side. So you have a really good combination of fast and slow corners, and then they also do the F1 layout from the recent years, or at least last year, which is like. In the last corner, it used to be like they cut it where it was like a right-hander and then you had a chicane and go into a right-hander. And now it's just one long right-hander.
Yes.
Which, as someone who always struggled with the chicane, I like it better like that. And I think it's just more fun because it also gives, I think, a little bit more overtaking opportunity. But yeah, it's just overall, Barcelona is just a really, really awesome track. So the ELMS has actually 4 different categories. So they have the LMP2 cars, which is the Project 2 cars you also get to see in the Le Mans race. Then you have the LMP2 AM and Pro/AM racers. So those are usually lower category racers like bronze, silver. And then you also have the LMP3 category. And then you have the GT3 category. Sorry, it's just so many.
No, it is.
LM just really stands for Le Mans.
Yeah.
So you have prototype 2, 3, and GT3 cars.
Yeah.
And the Project 2 cars in comparison to the Project 3 cars, you can differentiate by the nose, whereas the P2 cars have like this pointy nose, and the P3 cars, they have more of a little bit lifted front. I think they have less downforce. They're obviously also a little bit slower. And so it's usually that is the easiest way to differentiate them, because other than that, it can be sometimes maybe difficult, especially if you're new to it. But yeah, that's the easiest way. Just look at the nose. So also one of the big reasons I really want to watch it, because first of all, I love endurance racing, right? And then we also, the first race of the year for the WEC was obviously postponed. We don't know when that's going to happen. And we also have a lot of really cool racers, or racers that I love, or drivers that I love to follow. So this race we had Jamie Chadwick. She's back in the EDEC Sport car, which is the LMP2 car. They also did really, really well in Le Mans last year. And overall, she isn't. So they have 2 cars. They have the white car with the black stripes. That's the number 18 car. And then the EDEC Sports also have another car, which is a white with red stripes. This is the number 28 car. And the number 28 car, we're going to get into in just a second. Tough weekend for them. And then we also had Dorian Pain doing. She didn't do her debut there. She has raced in a LMP2 car before. I think it was like back in 2020 or something like that. So it's been a couple of years, or 2023, because then she did 2 years F1 Academy and now she's back.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And so she had her first race with the Duquesne.
Wait,
I think they pronounce it, at least the commentators, the English pronunciation, even though I think it's a French team.
Yeah.
They call it the Duquesne team. She raced in the LMP2 Pro/AM, whereas Jamie also only races in the LMP2 category. And then you also had really, really exciting having his debut this weekend. We had Jack Doohan racing for Nielsen Racing.
Yes.
He did the last stint for them, and he also did in the LMP2 category. And then you also had a few other people that might be familiar. Antonio Fuoco,
Oh,
who
yes.
usually races in hypercars, actually raced in the GT3 car
Oh, interesting.
this weekend.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like I'm missing one. Oh, Emma Felbermeyer, F1 Academy racer. Her dad was racing in this
Yes.
race as well, which
I
is really
remember
awesome. Horst.
You showed me the guy first, and I was like, oh, I'm supposed to know him?
I thought immediately when you read the name Horst Felbermeyer that you knew, like, oh, there must be a relation.
No, it didn't click immediately. And then I was like, I looked a little bit more at his profile, and I saw Emma Felbermeyer. I was like, oh my god.
Yes. Yeah, I was like,
So it's in the
maybe they
family.
eventually get to race together in the ELMS.
That
I don't
is
know
really
what her
sweet.
plan is, obviously, going forward. So these are the racers that I could think of right now on top of my head, because it's obviously a 4-hour race.
Yeah.
Lots can happen. And of course, the race started exactly how I wanted to start, right? Because when you get into endurance races, there's one way or another it can go, right? Either you have, like last year, I think we had this was the WEC, the Interlago race. Everyone was the most well-behaved you could possibly be. Like, not a single safety car, nothing.
Yeah.
But having a safety car makes things a little bit interesting,
Of
right?
course.
So
Because it switches up the strategies.
It does.
It does change. It causes a kerfuffle.
it causes a kerfuffle, right? And it also puts a little bit of pressure on, like, I think also the team itself, not just the driver, because you do have to then adjust your strategy, your pit strategy. The ELMS does have a minimum pit stop time of 105 seconds, I believe. So you do, like, there is like this whole strategy component to that, right? And so the race starts, and immediately the LMP2 cars are getting into it with each other. I can't even tell. I think this was going into the chicane that kind of goes uphill. You in the back you had two cars getting together. It was hard to tell what happened, right? And then a separate incident behind happened again. So immediately we had full course yellow, safety car, and then it was red flagged. And it was red flagged for 30 minutes just because I think it would have cost too much time. And there was like a bunch of cars involved in those incidences, and you wouldn't be able to, like, I think, retrieve this, or this would have just taken way too much time. So then I think it was red flagged for almost 30 minutes, and then the race restarted under the safety car, I think, with like 3 hours and 55 minutes to go, or 50. So we didn't really lose any racing time,
which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I did think, I was like, okay, I started watching it and then immediately red flag. I was like, okay, this most likely is setting the precedent for the rest of the race, right? And we did have several safety cars, several times. I think the virtual safety car always leads to the safety car. I don't think you can just have virtual, as far as I'm understanding it, or at least in this race, it always led directly to the safety car. And the big thing to keep in mind is when there's the virtual safety car, cars are allowed to pit, but once the safety car is indicated, it doesn't even have to be out yet. The pits close for 3 laps. So then if you have to do an emergency pit because you're like, I can't, we're running out of gas, you are required to come back in.
Yeah, you're allowed to come in for like a splash.
Yes,
and then
correct.
you have to come in for like a full.
You have to,
seconds.
you have to serve a penalty, and sometimes it's just you just get really, really unlucky. That's just what it is, right? It's racing, right? And then you also have the option for a full course yellow, but for a full course yellow, you're also not allowed to get into the pits. So this is kind of like and that, of course, because things are very different, and I don't know how this happens, but there is so many penalties that people ended up getting. It was insane because
I feel like we talked about this last time too, like especially in like WEC or WEC and ELMS. Like there's so many penalties. It's like
it's like what's going. I do think that especially. You something that I hadn't thought about is because you do have, even in WEC, you have a lot of drivers that are like bronze drivers. There's amateur drivers, right? They are, they are, of course, prone to make mistakes. However, you also see those guys in the hypercars, people who are former Formula One drivers. They're just doing a bunch of nonsense. They're speeding in the pit lanes, ignoring full course yellows and stuff like that. I'm assuming sometimes it's also like a small margin, right? You were just over like 0.1 kilometers, but the rule is you have to have 80 kilometers, right? You're not allowed to go 80.0 0.01 or something like that. And to make it fair, like people are just gonna get penalties, and that's just what it is. But I think the race overall was really, really interesting because all the way up until the end, and you watched like the last, what would I say, like last 15, 20 minutes of it?
Last 20 minutes
it got super competitive. And
sorry, I did see the beginning of you like,
yes.
I was like, are you acting?
No.
Or is this really happening? And then you told me, obviously, that there was like immediately a safety car and then the red flag. I was like, oh boy, what a start.
When it started.
Yes. And then also, I had watched my rally and I left the room. And then when I came back, your face was so red.
Yeah.
And it was I was like, what is going on?
So essentially what happened, because I'm not going to give a whole breakdown of the whole race.
Yes,
I'm just going to talk about specific incidences, I think, which make it easier. So you had Jack Doohan doing the last stint in the Nielsen racing car, right? And he was doing really well. And they were actually, I believe they were fighting for potentially at least minimum P3, if not higher. But then, so he's racing. He has to go back in with like, I think 32 minutes to go. He has to go back into the pits and he has to splash up to make it all the way to the end, because people are on offsetting strategies at this point. And obviously you try to drag it out as much as you can to go to the pits, because refueling does take a lot of time, right? So if you can, just refuel for like 10 seconds compared to like 15 seconds, it obviously saves you a lot of time on track. And so he had to pit before, but he did make it out of the pit before the Forestier racing car, which they were kind of in battle at the time. And then it comes, boom, boom, a full course yellow infringement, 10-second penalty for the next pit stop. And then I was like, oh my God, he's not going to be able to race out a 10-second gap.
Was he the one who caused the infringement? Did he make the mistake, or was it the guy who drove before him?
I think it was Jack, but it didn't say. A lot of times, this is something I do have a critique about. It doesn't say for when it was. So I don't know if it was maybe from a different one, because people also got penalties later on for something that happened early, because race control has a lot of things they have to look at, and it's a lot of cars that are on track. And so there's constantly things that needs to be investigated. So I don't know exactly. I am assuming it was him. But I can't say with 100% certainty.
It still sucks.
It sucks, because I was like, oh no, he's gonna drop out of the podium, so he's gonna have to really push in, because they're gonna just add the 10 seconds to the end of the race.
And it's like in the last 20 minutes, it's really difficult to drive out a 10-second
because
advantage.
most of the time at that point, when your tires might be old, I know that the Forestier Racing, when their last pit stop, they just put on new tires on the left side. So it kind of depends.
Which is also so fascinating.
That is very much an endurance racing thing.
When we first started watching endurance racing in Le Mans, when I had learned about it, that they only switch certain tires. Yeah. It's like, oh, I mean, it makes sense.
It makes sense, because usually, depending on the track, there's one side that gets a little bit more action than the other.
Yes.
So you might be able to get an extra, like, what is it? An extra, what is it?
Stint out of
your right tire, but you have to put another you have to switch the left side
And
out.
I mean, it also saves you time if you only switch one set of tires versus all four tires.
Correct, because in the WEC or in the ELMS, only one person does one tire, right? So there's one person who's designated to the back tires and one person that's designated to the front tires, but it's not like as optimized as it is in F1.
Yeah,
because you also obviously you have the minimum pit time, so you don't really necessarily need it. But so anyways, so he has that. He does make himself out through the because if you are in the LMP2 car, you hit traffic quite a bit, because there's minimum two slower categories. And then sometimes you also have the LMP2 Pro AM category that you're going to be faster, which, because they are in the same car, it has happened, I think, last year in Spa, where the LMP2 Pro AM car ended up winning the overall. So it does happen, but it's not as common, right? And even in the LMP2 Pro AM category, if you come like sixth, but you win the category, you still get the full 25 points for winning your category.
Nice.
Right? That they do differentiate that. So Then he makes a little. There's a little bit contact with him in another car. He's not at fault. He was being pushed wide, and then I think this is like last lap of the race. His rear right suspension breaks, and
do you think it was because of the touch that happened just prior to it?
I think it contributed maybe to a suspension that was already maybe hurting. I don't think it was necessarily like the only reason at fault, because obviously like 4 hours racing will put a lot of pressure on the suspension, but I do believe that it probably contributed to a degree, because he was hit on that side, and even though the contact wasn't strong, but they are going at fast speeds, at higher speeds, so I do think it probably contributed, but how much, there's no way to tell.
No, right? Of course, I was just curious because I remember seeing the incident, and it was so upset because obviously I know Jack. But so I have more of a connection with him. So I was immediately upset that he got touched. I was like, why are you touching my guy?
He got touched. There was an racing incident between two cars.
So I was like, I was curious if you think it had something, because obviously I didn't see the rest of the race. So I was like, I don't know if anything else might have happened. Yeah. But I mean, that's such a bummer.
It is.
Especially also when it happened right on the last lap, then he like try to get it to the finish line, and then of course knowing also that he had the 10-second penalty, it's like everything happening.
Because if it wasn't for the 10-second penalty, and if it wasn't obviously for the suspension failure, if it wasn't for the suspension failure, I think P4 would have been in it for them, because the EDEC Sport, the number 18 car, was
with Jamie Chadwick.
That one was far enough behind where the 10-second penalty would have not brought them close enough. And it didn't look like that the last guy that was racing in the car was going to make up those 6-7 seconds that he needed to in the like last 10 minutes. I mean, that's a huge ask, right? And this is like a former F1 racer, right? So even though his F1 stint wasn't very long, he's a fast motherfucker, right? I mean, it's
language.
True, right?
No, of course.
So it was really, really heartbreaking. But this also shows again, it also shows how exciting it is. Like, this was a 4-hour race where it came down to the podium, and also who ended up winning the race down to the last lap, because the Forest Racing team that ended up winning also did not cross the finish line first. It was the Inter-Europol, but they ended up getting a penalty as well, I believe.
Oh, gotcha.
So it is so, there's so many things that are obviously that factor into that, but it is also really exciting that you have, like, if you look at like P1 to P3, there's 17 seconds in between, and this is over a 4-hour gap. So this is really, really big, and it would have been closer if it wasn't for all this penalties that were applied to afterwards. So this just shows how exciting like endurance racing is. Another thing I wanted to bring up, so you had the EDEC Sport car, the number 18, and Jamie Chadwick is the one that actually started the stint.
Oh, nice.
And then there was the number 28 car, which they had, I think the first guy in it is actually partially owner of the team, or his family owns the team or something. And they actually immediately, there was contact between the two cars.
Both the team cars.
The EDEC cars, right? And but Jamie kind of like shut it down. She was like, I'm not letting this fool pass. And it also, like, she was just much faster. Yeah. Like, she was also able to put in a gap immediately. And it was also, I don't know, sometimes with endurance racing, it is hard to gauge when this all happened. But EDEC Sport, at some point, I think they were racing for third place. And it would have been nice if they could have made it into third, because obviously we're Jamie Chadwick fans here. But the number 28 car of the EDEC Sport, tough race. Twice contact made with the own team. Jesus. So they had contact in the beginning, and then when the race restarted, he touched or hit her again.
Touched Jamie Chadwick.
He touched her illegally. No, there was contact between the cars again, and the second time around, it was definitely on him. Yeah. Like bumping into her. Fortunately, it didn't look like either cars took damage. Then he put the car, I think he locked up the tires and then just went straight into the wall. Fortunately, like, it was like there was a lot of gravel, and then he hit it, but there was no other person around. So then they had to
lift him out.
Lift him out of it and then put him back on the track. And then he had to go into the pits, get it fixed. And then there was again later on contact with the 28 car hitting another car. So at the end, you can see they finished in 19th with 2 laps down. So it was it was an overall really, really tough weekend for them. Then the next person I wanted to talk about is the Duquesne team, which is the number 30 car, which is the one Dorian was racing in. So she did the second stint in it. And so she started actually racing. She got into the car during a safety car, right? So she had to do a safety car restart, and she did an excellent job. Because the P2 was right behind her, and she was able to defend. And then immediately she pulled out a gap. She was like 1.2 seconds up. I don't know at what point they lost actually P1 because I think when she gave over the car to the last racer, they were still in P1. So they finished in 3rd place overall, which is a little bit unfortunate. But you do also have to keep in mind this sometimes also comes down to strategy because I don't know if they put their bronze driver in last. So you could potentially lose a lot of time. A little bit unfortunate, but it's awesome to see Dorian doing really, really well, adapting, being back into an LMP2 car again. And of course, the goal is for them to also race in Le Mans this year.
Because she's with them at Le Mans, right? That's
correct.
She's registered
but
with?
I think you have to qualify to be able to race in Le Mans.
Oh,
it's not like just a given.
Oh, I see. But I mean, coming in 3rd in ELMS in their categories, I think a decent start for now.
And she also ended up getting the Wingfoot Award.
Yes, she did.
So this is kind of like driver of the day.
Well, it's like most valuable
exactly, but it's a
driver.
It's essentially the same idea of driver of the day. They have that for each category, and then the guy who got it in the LMGT3. Oh my God. I don't know why I try to throw the P in there always, all the time. He did a fantastic job. It is Abdullah Ali Khalifi, sorry. So he races in the Team Qatar car by the Iron Lynx. So it is they're partnered a little bit with the Iron Lynx, but the Iron Lynx also have their own their own car, and he actually ended up getting the pole for them, and he did a really, really long stint, and he kept it in P1 for the longest time.
Nice.
Unfortunately, they were not able to clinch the win. I think they finished 4th in the end, which is a little bit unfortunate because he had done such an excellent job. And he's, I think, the bronze driver. Or he's not the highest rated driver, at least in the team. And he ended up being overtaken by a higher rated driver at some point, but he just stuck it, and he had a really, really clean stint.
Nice.
Especially because there was a lot of like situations that especially during the restarts and stuff like that. So that was it was just really good, I think, racing also on his end.
Nice.
So it's really awesome to see just really.
So you were not surprised when you found out that he won the Wingfoot Award for his category?
No, I think like now seeing it, like it makes perfect sense. He did a fantastic job.
Nice.
Especially also being, I think, a lower rated driver. It's a like a fantastic performance by him.
100%.
Really, really strong performance. What else? I feel like I'm missing something, but 4 hours, it's like so much happens that I think I'm just gonna. I don't think I have anything else to say.
I mean, I think that's totally fine.
Yeah.
So the next race I see is coming up May 3rd in France. That's their next round of the competition for ELMS, at least. Also, 4 hours. I think 4 hours is a good sized endurance race also.
Yeah.
Obviously it's on the shorter end for an endurance race.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then we have 6 and then 12 and then 24. But I think it's a great bite size kind of endurance race. But if you
big bites, like bite size 4 hours took off my whole afternoon.
Fair. But if you have nothing else to say about the ELMS, I want to just touch on something that we found out about this week in regards to Dorian.